Real showdown between this administration and the judicial branch. The White House this morning is celebrating this move, insisting the president is acting within his authority to speed up deportations, despite that directive from a federal judge that these Venezuelan immigrants be returned to the U.S. immediately. This morning, hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members are waking up in prison in El Salvador after the Trump administration rapidly deported them, ignoring a federal judge's directive. This video shared by El Salvador's president shows the...
It's sad that we will never ignore injunctions or court orders at the behest of a greater good for the public. Like the what are you going to do about it mentality should have been ever present when the Biden administration was following the letter of the law and using its executive powers to abolish all student loan debt, right? Can't do that. No, we can't do that. Those are institutions that we must defend. Okay. Here's how you do it for evil. It only goes in one direction.
The alleged members of the Tren de Aragua gang arriving in San Salvador Saturday, just hours after a judge ordered planes carrying the men to immediately...
Yeah, they're doing straightforward Nazi propaganda on this, by the way. They're doing straightforward Nazi propaganda on this. They shaved their heads. There is no justification shown whatsoever that any of these people that were targeted and picked up were actually a part of any gang. Even if they were a part of Tren de Aragua, by the way, this kind of, like this right here, what they're doing here is completely unjustifiable. We have due process. You can't do that, or you must not do that. We're officially in the black bagging stage. ICE comes in, does dragnets, grabs people, claims that they're Tren de Aragua, claims that they're a part of a terror group now, claims that they're a part of a gang engaging in criminal activity, and then ships them to a foreign nation. And we've contracted out, because we outsource everything, we've also outsourced our concentration camp, dude. This is how it happens. For people that wonder, like, how did we get here? How did Nazi Germany become what it was? Like, this is it. You're here. You're watching it happen. You're watching an overseas example in Israel, and you're watching the domestic example here in the United States of America.
Trump over the weekend invoking the Alien Enemies Act, an obscure wartime law from 1798, allowing the government to deport non-citizens with little or no due process. The law last used to play a role in the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
I'll simply say they never should have been allowed into our country in the first place. It's ours.
Trump allowed them into the country. Trump is a major role player in why they had to leave Venezuela. Okay. It's not just about Maduro. You need to understand something. I don't care what like Venezuelans that live here will say over and over again. I don't care what the media says over and over again. Trump and his sanctions regime on Venezuela played a very big role in the Venezuelan economy tanking even further at a time when they needed aid. They said Maduro's a bad guy, fair, sure, whatever, and use that as a justification to make the economy scream. And the economy did scream. Trump, politically, as he has done in the past, as the American administrations have done in the past with like Cubans who are escaping Cuba, right, offered Venezuelans temporary protective status. He said, you guys are political refugees. We are anti-communist. You are anti-communist. Come to America. We'll use you. Right? That's usually the goal for American empire. They bring in a bunch of reactionaries or bring in a bunch of people who are escaping political repression and use them as a propaganda tool. So that's what we did. The American government did that. And in the process, Donald Trump was such a fan of offering temporary protective status to the Venezuelan refugees that came into the United States of America that he actually extended it on his way out. And then Joe Biden became president for 4 years. And now he turned around and is revoking the TPS in this insanely violent manner, deciding that every single Venezuelan on U.S. soil that has documentation, mind you, documented or undocumented, but virtually all of the Venezuelans on U.S. soil are documented. They have the paperwork. They got temporary protective status. Understand that they have the documents. These are not undocumented migrants, okay? They have the documents or they're in the process of getting their documentation, as in their court documents. The Trump administration turned around and black bagged a bunch of Venezuelans that they had actually welcomed into U.S. Inside of the U.S. boundaries in a pure political ploy, decided to ship them to the El Salvador anti-terror prison unit, CCOT. We've watched the El Salvador CCOT prison before on this broadcast because a bunch of right-wing Mexican YouTubers went there and glazed Bukele and also the prison structure, and talked about how awesome it is that they're like torturing people there. Lights on 24/7. Here we are. Another gross violation of human rights. 7.7 million Venezuelans have left the country since 2015. Okay, they've gone mostly to other Latin American countries. Some of them have gone to Spain, and some of them have made their way all the way to the United States of America. The largest population went to Colombia, obviously, as I talked about before. This is a major destabilizing force. When you have 7.7 million refugees, you have a refugee crisis, and it did not have to be this way. Even before he started the slave labor business, I could take one look at this guy and guess he was already embezzling from the treasury. Not that we needed the help, but American prestige will crater even further when everyone figures out the obvious here. Yeah. Nayib Bukele, who has been yelled at by Donald Trump, ironically enough, on numerous occasions, which is why I always thought it was strange. Donald Trump would go on CPAC and be like, Nayib Bukele, he sucks. He's dumping out his prisons, like probably because he doesn't know anything about Latin America. He probably thinks El Salvador is Venezuela or something. And he would constantly shit on Nayib Bukele, who's also a crypto guy, is now working with him because he said, hey, it's great. Send us all of your deportees. We'll use them as slave labor in our fucking concentration camps. That's where we're at right now. I need you to understand how insane this is. I'm not being hyperbolic at all. Okay, this is not hyperbole. We are here. We are officially in Nazi Germany status, but unlike Nazi Germany's concentration camps being maintained directly by, you know, people of German descent or the foreign legions or whatever, we are outsourcing the concentration camp to El Salvador. Now, watch this video. Watch this promotional video from Nayib Bukele and tell me that this isn't Nazi shit, okay? Go ahead. Nayib Bukele says, today, the first 238 members of the Venezuelan criminal organization Tren de Aragua arrived in our country. They were immediately transferred to CICOT, the Terrorism Confinement Center, for a period of 1 year, renewable. The United States will pay a very low fee for them, but a high one for us. Over time, these actions, combined with the production already being generated by more than 40,000 inmates engaged in various workshops and labor under the Zero Idleness Program, will help make our prison system self-sustainable. As of today, it costs $200 million per year. On this occasion, the U.S. has also sent 23 MS-13 members wanted by Salvadoran justice, including 2 ringleaders. One of them is a member of the criminal organization's higher structure. This will help us finalize intelligence gathering, go after the last remnants of MS-13, including its former and new members, money, weapons, drugs, hideouts, collaborators, and sponsors. As always, we continue advancing in the fight against organized crime, but this time we are helping our allies, making our prison system self-sustainable and obtaining vital intelligence. They're making their prison system self-sustainable by doing slave labor. We're doing slave trade shit for Venezuelans who have not gotten any due process whatsoever. Venezuelans that have not, this is a work camp, okay? Arbeit macht frei shit, understand? Work sets you free shit. It is, I don't know what words to use. Like, it is not hyperbolic at all when I say this. We're there. We're here, okay? This is it. This is the first step of the final act of the darkest chapter of American empire, okay? Full tilt fascism. It was the first thing that Rubio made headlines doing when the admin got into office. It supposedly can hold 40,000 people, and Rubio said we'd like to send U.S. citizens there as well. Yes, I remember. Anyway, watch this. Watch this and tell me if this isn't Nazi propaganda. They grabbed a Venezuelan dude for having tattoos. Like, that's what they're doing. And they're like, think about it. We didn't use the Alien Sedition Act post 9/11. We didn't even use the Alien Sedition Act post 9/11. There is no war happening right now, and the Trump administration is claiming that it's an invasion, that migrants are invading. How do you not see that this is an even greater expansion of the previous surveillance state? This is not a justification for the previous surveillance state. I have fought against it every single step of the way. Having said that, this is moving beyond that now. This is a logical conclusion.